Okay, here we go. Balance and modifier changes dropped last week, so we called on Shock to help break it all down. We'll get his take on the changes, what they mean for Legends and more metas. Try and gauge where Clash is headed next. Liam and Sam are here with me. I'm Rick. This is Red Talks Clash.
What are we calling this? Is this a podcast?
Red. It's Clash.
As I said, Shock is here. Shock, one of my favorite YouTubers. Been following you for a while now. You do a great job at teaching attacks, and that's something I think a lot of YouTubers kind of lack. You know, we get a lot of narration what's going on. You do a great job teaching. I've had a couple people wanting me to point that out to you. Welcome to the podcast, and let's just start off saying, just walk me through your initial reaction to these balance changes, because this kind of came out of nowhere. And just, you know, what are your first thoughts as a player? You know, what were your first thoughts more as a content creator too?
Yeah. So, I'll break it down individually, kind of one as a player and one as a content creator. As a player, when I was watching Itsu's video, he was the first one I watched. He was going through the changes one by one, and I was like, okay, so they're going to nerf some of the defenses and the modifiers at the same time. That really surprised me. And then when he said that they were going to buff throwers, I was like, holy cow, that's crazy. I felt like the throwers were one of the few armies alongside maybe E-Dragons that were in a really good place before any of the changes. So that surprised me a little bit. I feel like Legend League should be somewhat difficult, but also not torturous and make it feel like it's a chore to do. But as a content creator, definitely the easier it is, the more stuff you can do and the more fun people have. I think the fun the average person has, definitely. So I think as a competitive player, it's on the fence right now. It's kind of hard to analyze exactly, but as a content creator, it's definitely more fun. I have a lot more fun being able to do a whole bunch of stuff, but it's probably good for most players that are in Legend League. I feel like if they're going to have this broad scope of 100,000 people in there, you've got to have it be catered to the highest number of those as possible, right? You can't just cater it to the very top, or else it's going to leave most people unhappy. But I think this did a fairly good job with that. Maybe slightly overboard with a couple things, but we don't know how the bases are going to adapt yet, so it's hard to know exactly.
Yeah, like it does always take time for the base meta to kind of shift and change. I've been seeing more really heavy stack corners. You know, like I one-starred twice today, you know, doing the new awesome thrower spam.
Yeah.
So it's you know, it's still not, you know, totally foolproof, but it very, very obviously they swung that pendulum too far. And we don't normally get balance changes of like this magnitude where they change troops and defenses and equipment all together. And none of it individually sounded really extreme. But just it all added up to just it's been ridiculous the last few days.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. One thing that has crossed my mind several times that Itsu brought up in his video today was this probably would have worked even somewhat before the modifier or before these changes even happened, because nobody really used any of the armies this way. And with how much overkill you can get on some bases, they might work a little bit. Like it might have worked a little bit before even this update, but nobody thought to try it that way. So it's kind of interesting.
I did a couple rounds of testing on all this stuff too, and like I just never occurred to me to equip a life gem. You know, like it's obviously been part of some attacks over the last couple of years, but I missed it. Obviously, a lot of people did. So
Yeah,
who would have thought? You know, I dropping everything in a corner in Legends League has seemed like a foreign concept since the ranked mode
Yeah.
update. It's crazy.
I feel like one of the reasons this army specifically is really is going as viral as it is because I feel like for a few months, most of the people in Legend League have felt like they're drowning and treading water and trying to gasp for air. And this is almost similar in the ways where Town Hall 15 was really hard, and then they introduced the Lava Loon during the Halloween mashup event. And then for once in a long time, people felt like they could consistently 3-star fairly easily, and so they get that breath of fresh air. And I feel like it's so much more rewarding to people now because they've had to go for a little while without having what they feel like is having success, right? And so that feels from one extreme to the other, like overnight, almost like Eternal 15 with the lava loon.
We just had a lot change. Like, is there anything specifically that was adjusted in this round of balance changes that you think like really pushed over the edge, or like what parts of it would you want to back off to kind of fix it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like I've actually thought about this quite a bit, and it's difficult to nail down because, like you said earlier, it feels like they adjusted a whole bunch of different things a little bit. So it really is hard to just pin this on just the throwers or just the life gem or just what it could be a number of things. So I don't really have a great answer. Although I will say though, I do think the throwers were in a very good spot beforehand, and I don't think they needed any of the three buffs that they got to their damage, their health, or their movement speed. But it's so I'm interested to see what they'll do, if they'll just revert the thrower to the way it was before, or if they think that if they change some of the other stuff that it will just put them at a good spot again. I don't know yet. It's hard to tell.
Do you think it needs like an emergency nerf, or do you think it's just kind of like maybe we should ride it out till the next update and and get maybe a better fix?
Yeah, I think they should probably just write it out at this point until so if the next update's going to be within a month from now, then that's totally fine. If they're not planning on doing it till like the end of March, then they probably should do some change before then. But yeah, I do think bases will adapt enough to where this army will become almost like the Super Yeti army before Legend mode was introduced, where you can dominate with it in lower Legend League. But once you got to higher Legend League, it really died off because of how well bases were built. And I think this is going to be similar to that.
Are you worried about CWL at all?
Oh yeah, it's well, that's actually one of the biggest complaints I've seen come from this update. Was not even about Legend mode, was about how this made normal mode even easier. So yeah, CWL feels like it's probably going to be pretty easy. Although I'm probably going to jinx it and fail attacks now, just saying that. But that's yeah, CWL will probably be pretty. I don't know how seriously clans should take this round.
It does make me kind of wonder whether they should implement some sort of balance modifiers like the legend modes in CWL, because this constantly happens every time they release something or change something during CWL. I'd say at least half the CWLs we have a year, there is something broken going on. So I'm not sure if that's something they'll look at some point.
Yeah, that's a question I've seen a lot of creators as well as just the community bring up is should they add modifiers to certain leagues for CWL, as well as maybe make it optional for Clan Wars as well, because really for the average Clash of Clan player that isn't doing professional esports matches, there's three aspects to being competitive at the highest level. There's Legend League, there's Clan Wars, and then there's CWL. And right now, two of the three seem almost like they're not competitive at all. And Legend League is kind of the one where you can really see who's the best, right? So it's hard to say.
Yeah, people do keep bringing up, for champs leagues, we have three modifiers. There's three champs leagues. Just go, bada bing, bada boom, to scale it up. And I don't know, like I like CWL matching normal wars. If they were to do, I would rather see the overall game balance adjusted in a way to eliminate draws and make CWL a little more challenging. I think going to one hit in CWL eliminates almost all the problems that normal war has. Like you don't see many draws in CWL.
Agreed.
So
yeah,
I don't know that CWL needs a fix, because like you're just not seeing draws. Like it's 42, 43 star wars all the time, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like a big problem to me. But that said, like I wouldn't be against it either. Like all my serious attacks every day are in Legends difficulty anyway, so it wouldn't be a terrible adjustment.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do actually agree with that. I do think if you had only one attack in normal wars, I mean, especially if you had more than 20 people in a war, you would never see a tie, which would that would immediately fix almost every problem. I don't know if the average player wants to have a 24-hour prep period for just one attack, but I would rather it be that way.
I know you were on a big push to pushing some ideas for wars last year, and yeah, like I really want to see data that we'll obviously never get, but like my clan hasn't not had a perfect war in over a year and a half. So it's draws or wins exclusively. We're like our streak's over 100, insane amount of draws. Like it doesn't seem like it's a problem for the average player who's not in an all Town Hall 18 clan. So
Yeah.
like that's why I have to imagine there hasn't been anything done. But also like we might be numerically a minority in the game, but we're not a non-important player base either.
Exactly. You're exactly right. It is. I think we are definitely a minority, but exactly. This is, I think there are ways that Supercell can make changes to make everybody happy. And it doesn't, like, you don't have to make the top player base happy, or you don't have to make the most of the player base unhappy to make the top player base happy. Like, you can do a little bit of both. So the hard part is finding out what exactly to do. But I will say, when I did Carbon Finn's Birthday War, it was a 50v50, and they did it in Legend mode. That was, I remember towards the end of that war, there was about a half an hour left. There was probably 15 to 20 people online on both clans watching the end of the war, because it was a little bit adrenaline inducing trying to do my last attack for that war, because I truly didn't know if we were going to win yet. And it was fun to see everybody in there helping plan each other's attacks and figuring out what we needed to do to win. And I do miss that. That would be a lot of fun to have back in the game.
Yeah, like man, I haven't had a war like that since probably Town Hall 15, like maybe early 16. But there hasn't been the whole clan getting on, helping each other plans. You haven't needed that.
No, yeah,
so, yeah. I don't know. Like one of the things I think people were having an issue with in Legends League wasn't just the overall difficulty. It did get harder, but we had a really OP troop with Meteor Golems, and we still do. So, like, the overall hit rates, at least in CBUL, didn't really drop. But the amount of attacks that we had were shrunk. Like, it was basically Meteor Golems, some kind of air spam, and that was it. Nothing else had a chance. So, it feels like this balance change, the intention behind it was to broaden the scope of attacks that we could bring to the table and succeed in. And it's like, I mean, obviously it took it a little too far.
Yeah, I think if they can make some minor adjustments just to make it so you can't put everything on one tile, I think that this sets up a lot of attacks to be successful, at least viable. That's what we really want. We want attacks to at least feel viable, because even with Mass Furnace and stuff before they made these changes, there'd be some days where I'd go 250, 260, but some days where I'd go like 190. And it was just so volatile trying to do attacks that were not the best in the game. Some days you'd have an okay day, and then some days it would just feel awful. And nobody wants that. So I think some attacks might not be the best in the game, but they'll at least be viable with this, so I do think it is a step in the right direction.
Yeah. You were one of the guys, I think, expressing their own issues with Legends League. So do you want to just kind of sum up your thoughts on Legends League previous to this week?
Yeah, absolutely. So it really did stem from exactly like what you were saying. It felt like you either had to use some Meteor Golem attack, whether that was spam or Fireball Meteor Golem, or some air attack where at least 250 of your supply was a unit that you spam down on the map, whether that was Dragon Riders, Hydra, E-Dragons, or Super Dragons. A couple of people use that. And the players that use those attacks will tell you that they're all very different, but to players that don't, all four of those air attack armies, they do feel somewhat the same. You might have slightly different openers. So it felt like to me, and a lot of people that I had talked to, it was frustrating to feel like I had to use armies that I didn't enjoy using in order to feel like I had to do well in Legend League. And that was the frustrating part for me. And to be honest, I think that I would have been okay if they had just adjusted the health or something to the units and not touched the modifiers or the defenses, just to make more armies feel viable. I would have been fine with that. I truly did not expect them to make as drastic a change as they did.
They never do that.
No.
The Clash team has always been a lot more like focused and slow to react, and they do small changes and watch what happens, and then small changes again. And like we've often criticized them for being too slow on balance, and then this was a hell of a swing they just took.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like it's nice in a way to see like there was a significant amount of the players who were having issues, and there must have been some kind of crazy data scaring them to take drastic action. But
Yeah.
like I don't like it's good to see responsiveness to it, and I'd like to watch them take big swings. This one I kind of a miss, but like I also still have faith that hey, like they're looking at stuff. I've seen a lot of ideas tossed out for how to how to adjust, and a lot of it looks fun and promising. I haven't had a chance to test too much of it yet.
You're exactly right. There has to be some data that they were looking at that may have almost scared them a little bit. They were like, we have to make some big changes now because either players are leaving or something, right? They're not enjoying the game. And obviously, I think the content creators had a lot to do with that because a lot of content creators, myself obviously, talked about the overall state of the game and how the average player felt and stuff. But I think they may have overcompensated with this update. But I would rather have balance changes more frequently to get to that perfect level than to have them make minor changes every 6 months or so and make it feel like it didn't do much.
It's a fine line to walk too, because like we have so many magic items available. So if like right now, I'm sure a lot of people are getting that first fighting book and upgrading throwers right now. For them to come like within a week or two and immediately walk back throwers, like that is it's gonna feel like a slap in the face to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I just don't think there's a great solution to that. Liam, you are more on the casual end of the spectrum than me, obviously, and obviously Sean. So, like, what have you been like? What's been your experience in Old Legends, and then compared to this week?
I mean, I was just gonna say I actually really like these changes. I feel like they've made the game easier for me to triple in Legends, and I was kind of struggling before that. Like, I mean, I was using Meteor Golems in Legends and not really getting a lot of triples, and I thought it was because I didn't have the Rocket Spear Epic equipment. But then I got it, and then I still couldn't triple. Basically, I was kind of failing pretty catastrophically. And then this balance change happened, and I was like, oh, this is great. Now I can triple. I didn't have max throwers yet, so I was like, I can't use this new thrower army. So I switched to Dragon's Hydra, and that worked pretty well. I was getting like 2 or 3, 4 triples a day or something. And then when I finally managed to max the throws, I was like, okay, let's. Funny enough, I was looking up like YouTube videos about how to find the new, how to use the new attack, and the first video that came up was your latest video, Shock. So thank you for that. And so yeah, no, I really enjoy it, and I hope they don't like revert it with a nerf, but they probably will. So I'd say from a casual player point of view, this is really great. Our words still aren't perfect. Like lots of people just can't triple at lower town halls.
Yeah, just a question for you actually, and maybe for Rick and Sam as well. What would you guys consider to be a successful attack, one that you're actually happy with? Would you consider like 80% 2 stars a successful attack, or is it just 3 stars?
No, for me, anything that's not a triple isn't successful attack.
Okay.
And I think this is why we end up in the screw balance we end up with, because I found in Legends before these balance changes, if I got like a 90% 2 star or something, I'd be fairly happy. I mean, I wouldn't be I wouldn't be running around the room going, oh my god, thank god. But it meant when I tripled, it felt great. I was like, okay, I've done a brilliant attack, great, I've tripled. But I wasn't disappointed by a 90% 2 star. But I think clearly the majority of people are, and Supercell must by now have so much data telling them that player attention and engagement just drops so much when people are struggling to 3 star, which does obviously make sense. People like being rewarded by success. It makes sense, but I think this is a problem that most people view 3-starring that's success. Anything less than that is failure. And if you find yourself constantly failing, you don't want to play. And that's why we always end up with balance eventually becoming easier like this.
Yeah, the last 2 years, I think you're exactly. The last 2 years has almost programmed into people's minds that if you don't triple, it doesn't count as a successful attack. And now, because even if you get 7 or 8, 90% plus 2 stars in a day, you still look at that and you're like, wow, I didn't triple. I only tripled once, or I didn't triple at all, even though most of those are actually pretty good attacks. But we think of that as failure, which is kind of a tough. I don't know how Supercell fixes that though.
To be fair though, Shark, I do just want to say, like, I only consider the triple or nothing failure thing, like in WoW or in CDL. Like in Legends, before I could like consistently triple, I was like, hey, if I'm getting a 2-star 90%, that's a success for me. But it was mostly due to the fact that I didn't know that I could triple, and now that I know that I can, it feels anything less than a 3 is a failure. But
Yeah.
in normal mode, like it really depends on what you know you're capable of. So if you don't usually get 3 stars, then a 2-star 90% is actually a success, as Sam was saying.
I could look at my Legends log at the end of the day and see like +2, +250, +260, and like logically, I know that was a solid day. It's hard to unlearn 2 years of like 309, 320 being
Yeah.
the bar for a good day. It hasn't been enough time to get out of that mindset. I know it's tough, and like I don't know what the answer is. Obviously, like something scared him. Yeah.
Yeah. You may have heard me use this analogy before, but this is actually why I asked that question. I watched this like nature documentary not too long ago that talked about lions and how like the dad lions play with their cubs and stuff when they're little, and they always play fight and play wrestle with each other. The cubs and the lions do. And this study from this place found that if the lion does not let the cub win at least 30% of the time, so like fake that they won, then the cub loses interest because it's too hard and they give up. I feel like that is a very good representation of how Legend League is. If people don't feel like they can have a successful raid about 30% of the time, give or take, I feel like they're going to be frustrated and they're going to give up. The hard part is I don't know that we should let people have 30% triples, or if 90% up is counted as a thing, right? So it's hard to know exactly what that means, but people need to feel like they're being successful sometimes during their Legend League day in order to not make it demoralizing and humiliating and frustrating.
Absolutely. They do the same with slot machines as well, right? Like if you don't win every so often, you kind of don't gamble.
Exactly. Yes, exactly like that. Yeah.
How do you do that though? Like, because anything that's not a 3-star, I don't.
Yeah.
Give me a bucket full of ore for a 2-star. Like, I'm not gonna be satisfied.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And the problem with trying to at the highest level, at lower levels where there's not as big a skill gap, you don't really have this issue. But at the highest league in the game, having 100,000 people is impossible to make even a vast majority of the population happy, right? You're either going to cater to most of the people, which leaves 80% and up kind of unhappy because they feel like their skill isn't being rewarded, or you're going to cater how it used to be before these changes to the very highest, leaving everybody else unhappy. So with the amount of people that are in Legend League right now, it's going to be impossible. So if they're unwilling to change the amount of people in Legend League right now, they just have to accept the fact that they're going to have to make the most amount of people happy, and whatever balance that is what they should do.
Do you have any ideas on how they could even start to address that?
Well, making a league like in a lot of other games, there's like the highest league in the game is almost impossible for the average player to get into. Like Grandmaster is a rank in some games where there's only 500 or 1,000 people at the most. And because the games were built that way from the start, people are happy knowing that they got close to that rank but didn't quite make it there. But you could adjust the difficulty if you made leagues a little bit more at the top. Okay, so I'm kind of rambling on a little bit, but the closer to the top you get, the more drastic the skill difference is. So like the difference in skill from the rank 100,000th player to the rank 10,000th player is not nearly as big as the difference in the skill from the rank 10,000 player to the rank 1 player. The rank 1 player is significantly better than the rank 10,000 player. And actually the difference in skill between 10,000 and 100,000 is really not that big. So you really need to make the leagues a little bit smaller in order to make people happy. So to answer your question though, I because of the way they've done Legend League in the past, I don't know how they'd make the change.
Assuming Legends isn't gonna really change. Legends, I mean, it used to be like 2 million, now it's 100,000 and growing. I think I haven't looked in like a month or so, but I want to say it was like 121 last I looked. So, like, assuming Legends, the size of Legends isn't really gonna change. Like, do you think the balance as of today? Do you think that's closer to the mark on where it should be compared to a week ago?
Yeah, way closer. I think much, much more people are happy with the balance as it is today than it was 2 weeks ago. And I know that the people at the top are going to be less happy with it that way. But if they're going to leave the amount of people in Legend League how it is right now, that's the way Supercell should balance it, is to keep the most amount of people happy so that people don't leave the game.
I mean, there's still one harder modifier to go. Like, I mean, how would you feel about a league higher than Legends that might be in esports mode?
Yeah, if they wanted to, like, as soon as you hit rank 1000, the modifiers actually change from Legend to esports or something, I would be all for that. And then if like you drop out because you weren't good enough and you had a really bad day, then it would go back to the way it was before and have that maybe interchange frequently. I don't know exactly how that would work, but something like that, I would be all for that.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I'm down for them making it way harder, like in high up in Legends. I just don't want it to affect normal wars in CWL as well as like lower Legends, where I'll probably stay for the rest of my life. I mean, I really enjoy the modifiers, because it was like a harder mode, and like if you practice on hard mode, you get easier triples in normal mode, and I really kind of like that mentality where you kind of do more in practice, and then for the actual when it matters in wars, then you can actually succeed.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to esports mode being in some new, higher league in Legends, because ultimately anyone in Legends, like they're much more committed, much more active, and probably much better than the average player, because no one ends there by accident. You're having to do 8 attacks a day. You are putting effort in, and I think those people are probably the people who are most vocal about wanting a harder game, because they're the people that sat through 320 days for the last 2 years. So yeah, I can see that, because realistically, Supercell have reacted like this because if we're going to look through the lines, casuals are leaving the game because they're finding it too hard, which is why I don't quite understand why they didn't just make some general nerfs rather than also nerfing the balance modifiers in Legends. I think that's just I don't think that's where the problem was. I think maybe some nerfs just generally for troops and whatnot, which is what they did, is fine. I don't know what they saw to make them think they needed to make Legends and Electro League harder, but there must be something.
Yeah, it's this is one area where I don't envy them at all. It's impossible to make everybody happy. So it's I don't know what the answer is. So it's tough.
Yeah, I'm just trying to I'm having fun crushing bases lately. I'll enjoy about that. Hopefully we're not gonna see a bunch of 45-45 draws in CWL this week. If we do, whatever.
Yeah.
And just bridge until the next update, and things will change then too. But so I know it's kind of hard to predict right now since we don't really know what's gonna happen. But assuming everything just gets backed off a little bit, like what kind of attacks are you gonna be looking to do in Legends, and then also kind of like what attacks are you expecting like the more casual players to be able to pull off just in war?
So I think that if they make changes soon and revert, quote unquote, some of the stuff that they did, I actually don't think they're going to touch the modifiers or the defenses. I think they're probably going to adjust, if I had to guess, the throwers and the life gem. I think those are the two things they'll probably touch if I had to guess. And because of that, I think I am going to start messing around with the furnace attack again. I've been practicing it quite a bit the last few days, and I've had some pretty good success with it. I went 279 with it yesterday, and a couple of attacks went really terribly, where I lost my flame flinger right at the start. So I think that I could start having some pretty good days if I warm up again. So that's what I'm going to start trying to make work again, is that attack. That's definitely not for the average player, though. I think the average player will probably have to learn throwers or E-dragons. And the Zap Quake thrower attack is actually pretty easy to learn. It's really not very difficult.
Like it's funny though, because like Zapquake throwers was starting to become a thing like before all these changes. Like you said,
Yeah.
I mean, people were having success with it. People were doing good. I know, like the way it works sometimes in the creator program is like, you know, we'll get the dev build, say here's a questionnaire, and it was like a whole lot of there's a whole lot more than what just went live in the balance changes that was testing. So my focus was kind of elsewhere. But you know, I was like, hey, you know, I've seen this. I played with it a bit in the live game, loaded up. Hey, this feels stronger. I can get it to work. Like, yeah, I think thrower buff is fine. Check it off, move on. And then
Yeah.
all these videos came out. I was like, oh, whoops.
Yeah. What did we do? Yeah. That's just,
You know, yeah. I mean, I was like, you know, one guy on the forum out of who knows how many, but it's just like, oh, okay, maybe I was wrong on that one.
yeah,
But
and that's the one area where I think sometimes you could maybe say Supercell maybe should have anticipated this happening when this update was brought into the game, but I don't think there's any way they could have ever tested
No.
infinity amount of armies, right? So I don't think this is their fault. I think this is just kind of an accidental side effect of update. So
I know, like that's what I do when I when I get a new dev build. I go and I'll try like the attacks that I'm most familiar with, just because that's what I'm gonna have the best gauge at, like what feels different. Or I'll load up like just smaller individual interactions just to see stuff. Like put one of these buildings on a map and, you know, versus heroes or new troops or, you know, whatever stuff like that. But like for you, like I'm curious, like what's what's your kind of testing process when you get this stuff live? Like I wanted to ask, like I knew these were going live. I opened up your channel, just like, man, like I'm wondering if furnaces are back.
yeah, I haven't done a video on it yet because yesterday I was out of town and today I probably won't upload a video either. But it was usually anything that's adjusted by the nerfs or the changes, which on an update like this where they nerf the modifiers completely and a whole bunch of defenses, that really makes me want to test a whole bunch of different things because everything gets affected by this. But usually on smaller updates, if they introduce a new troop or a new spell, I just go crazy and I think, can you clone this? Can you like what can you do? And like the Super Yeti clone when that first got dropped and broke the game. Like, there's no way Supercell could have ever anticipated that happening, right? But that's but other things like I just kind of go crazy and just test a whole bunch of things until things start to gain traction in the raids, and then I make adjustments on what I see the weaknesses being.
Yeah, no, yeah, the Yeti thing was hilarious too. I totally forgot about that. 'Cause, like again, like I'm not a playtester, and I doubt anyone listens to me individually at all. But I remember, like during that one, when they said, yeah, they're changing the clone space of the Yeti Mite. It was like, oh yeah, because like Dark Crown's coming. That tracks. That makes a lot of sense. Like
Yeah.
I'll do them with, like I'll use Dark Crown with some Yetis in there just to see, like, oh hey, it's not crazy. It doesn't power them up too fast, whatever. And like I didn't think about cloning specifically Yeti Mites. Like that was whoever came up with that. It's crazy creative.
Yeah, I agree. That I think, and honestly, it might have been an accident because they might have accidentally closed or cloned some of the mites one time and then just realized, like, oh, I just deleted half the base. How did that happen?
Yeah, there's a saying I always hear with regards to Class 2 is like, none of us are as smart as all of us. So sometimes you just gotta put it out in the wild and see what happens.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Yeah, this is another thing. I don't think anybody at the dev team would have ever thought in a million years, and myself included, to just put all the throwers on one corner and it would be overpowered, right? So yeah, you just have to let everybody.
Yeah, like I'll do, like we don't get as many challenge maps anymore, but like that's how that's as far as I would get on challenge maps, is just like whatever they give you on that base, drop it all in the corner, see if that works, and then beyond that, I was like, I'll let the creators figure out like a solution to it. But
Yeah.
like I haven't done that in forever. So whoops for my
I do wonder
my
though,
small
like,
percentage of responsibility on this.
is it even possible to like discover like something like that and keep it hidden? Because like obviously if you use it and attack people, they'll be like checking the defenses and then I'll spread like wildfire kind of thing. So it's
So
hard to find a really like empowering attack and keep it
you're
secret.
exactly right,
Minimum.
especially with how many people show off attacks now. I get
Yeah.
people that send me replays of their Legend Link hits, and they're like, "Look at this trick this guy just pulled off!" Like, so even though that guy was doing it as a secret his whole life, now it's exposed to the world just randomly. That's actually how the Super Yeti attack at Town Hall 17 was found out. There was a clan that was absolutely dominating with it in Champion 2 CWL. And I had a couple of people send me their replays. Actually, I think he's in the chat here right now, or at least he was earlier, the guy who sent me the replays. And he's like, you need to check out the Super Yeti attack. These guys are absolutely dominating us with it. And so then I was like, whoa, that's crazy. That's literally all they do. And so I tested it out and I was like, wow, I just dominated all my bases and went, I think I went 312 because I had 199% time fell. But then that attack took on. So yeah, people can hide it as much as they want, but I will find you.
Sounded like Liam Neeson.
That's
All right. So aside from like the balance changes that are needed shortly, but like just in more long term, where do you want the game to go next? Like what do you want out of the next content update and for the rest of 18?
So I think that is if they can make a lot of variety in terms of strategies viable, maybe if even if they don't compete with the best quote unquote army in the game, I would be very happy with that. That makes it so much easier for me to do content. I love doing Legend League hits a lot more than I do otherwise. And also esports becomes much more interesting, which has been kind of an unfortunate side effect. And I've even seen some professional players talk about the state of pro matches. It seems like they're not getting as much hype as they used to. As a viewer, maybe the pro players like it the way it is right now, but as a viewer, it's maybe not as exciting and fun to watch matches end in between 10 and 12 stars almost every match. You really don't see a whole lot of clans consistently getting 13 or 14 stars. And I think, to my knowledge, as of right now, there's only been one clan that's gotten a 15-star war in a professional match, where it was like a legitimate match. At this point. So I think actually having the game a little easier for esports mode would make it more enjoyable to watch. I know that some of the pros aren't going to agree with that, but that's the thing where you've got to make you've got to put the needs of the many before the needs of the few.
Yeah.
Because it does seem like esports mode, unfortunate because I love to watch it and get involved in stuff. It has slowly lost a little bit of traction and views and hype year after year since about Town Hall 14 or 15 or so. But I don't know. So it's hard. I don't know what the answer to that is, though.
Like any troops you want to see make a comeback, aside from furnaces, I guess, that we've already talked about.
It's hard to make every smash attack work, like E-Titans. I don't know how, because I know they said their goal isn't to make every strategy viable at Town Hall 18. So I would agree with that. Hogs, I think a lot of people would love to see Super Hogs make a comeback.
I want Hogs back so much.
Yeah, I think that would be fun.
Used to be so fun.
Oh yeah, Sam was like a Super Hog pro back in the day.
I love Super Hog so much.
Yeah, I do remember that. So that I would like to see maybe make a comeback. I would also maybe like to see them add more super troops or maybe make it so you can use more than 2 in a battle. I feel like that would instantly make things more interesting in Legend League and in wars and stuff. If you could have more than 2 active at one time, that would make a lot of combinations because you almost have to have super wall breakers almost no matter what. Regular wall breakers just don't cut it at all. So then you really only have one other one that you can use in most armies.
I do wonder whether those spotlight events where they let you use obviously an extra super troop because it's the spotlight one. I wonder if they have maybe used that as testing the waters for letting players have 3 super troops and just seeing how it goes. Because they've done quite a few of them now, so I think it may be natural next step.
Yeah, they have been, I think, cautious with that because it's only been a few. It's been wall breakers, sneaky gobs, super drags, rocket loons. I can't think of any other.
Was there
ones.
a super minion one? I can't remember.
Maybe.
But yes, sounds familiar.
Wall breakers should just become super wall breakers just by default.
Yeah,
and
I
then
that.
yeah, like that would open up a lot more possibilities too. But we can dream. Liam, are you ready to take us into listener questions?
Absolutely, yes. So the first one was Shock. Do you think, well, we kind of already touched this with the Furnace Attack can be a viable meta option with the new rework of to the modifiers?
Yeah, so I think it will be viable. I don't know that it will be one of the top armies in the game, like top 3 or 5, but I do think it will be viable. So yes, and I'm excited for that too. So
Yeah, you're gonna get some practice in and let us know how it goes, right?
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. And next question, also from Pick B8, guys. What army would you choose to add as your personal suggestion if Clash ever had to add creator armies to the cookbook?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't think furnaces would be a good option for that. I feel like it's probably too you diving in head first to a difficult army. I think probably right now the Zapquake Thrower army, and then maybe they could even link like you click to watch this video, and they could do one YouTuber's guide on how to use that army. That way, people have some idea how to use it. But Zapquake Throwers is probably the easiest slash best army in the game, probably at the moment, if you don't count the thrower spam.
I think the cookbook is kind of like the practice armies where it stops being relevant once you're at a certain town hall.
Yes. Yeah.
So, like, I would like to see different and better like lower town hall ones and like mid town hall stuff. Like, start ramping up the difficulty. Maybe even like flag them differently in the UI and say like, hey, this is a little more basic one, or like war, like differentiate between war and farming, and
Yeah.
linking to an instructional video, like something short, like just have creators fill that role and say like, hey, here's the army, link it to a creator's video demonstrating that army or something. I don't know, like use it as a tool to educate people and train people, because one of the big problems I think with the Legends modifier is that, like we said it much times, like people weren't trained over the last couple years to play a difficult game. Like if you've started playing, the average player probably only played for 3-4 years, literally never had a hard game in their whole experience. It's never been difficult until rank mode Legends hit. So yeah, I don't think you got to start training people to do more different multi-stage attacks earlier on.
Yeah, develop the fundamentals like funneling, spell usage, things like that. I agree early on. That way, those skills can develop into something they can master by the time that the game is really hard. I agree with that.
Guy out of the CFF said, any tips on assessing bases and entries, or and he also said, you're one of the better guys at like multitasking too, like during the attacks. Do you have any tips on improving that stuff?
Yeah. Let me take those on separately. Those are great questions, by the way. The first one, base assessment really has everything to do with the army that you're using. I would say if you're using an army, like let's take E-Dragons, for example, you have to know that the strengths and weaknesses of your army. E-Dragons deal with clumped buildings really, really well, and they obviously are terrible against bases that are spread apart or areas of the base that are spread apart because their chains don't do any damage. So understanding the strengths and weaknesses of the army that you're using is going to be the biggest key indicator or tool to have you become good at base identification. So knowing that when you go into bases, you know that you want your E-Dragons to go into the base that's very clumped up and has all of the high health buildings together, so that they get their value. You also definitely, heroes don't deal with clan castles very well. So I would rather have my E-Dragons deal with the clan castle and have my heroes on a different part of the base. Where like with throwers and stuff, knowing the strengths and weaknesses of the throwers as well is another big important thing. So funneling, I know I want to put my throwers on a part of the base where there's not going to be a lot of defenses within 4 spaces of a wall, because then they might split left and right and go different directions. I know that if I put them on a corner and create the funnel and then put them going one direction, if there's no defenses behind walls within 4 spaces, they're not going to split different directions, right? So that's the most important thing when learning base identification. And it's hard to give you a specific example with armies and stuff because there's so many. But to answer the second question, how to get better at multitasking, there are some really great short-term, immediate ways you can get better, and then some long-term ways. The short-term ways are definitely play with your game sound on. You'll hear when the clan castle gets drawn. That way you can focus on different things. You'll hear when heroes lock onto your troops. That way, if you're doing a warden charge or something, you can quickly look, like you'll hear the king like dun, that little exclamation point they have. You'll be able to focus on that. Another immediate thing you can do to help with your multitasking is play as zoomed out as possible. You are much more likely to notice when things are going wrong if you're zoomed out than if you're focused way zoomed in on one part of your army. And then the long-term ways that you can get better at multitasking is just repetition and becoming familiar with and practicing your army over and over again. And that's really the only good long-term way.
You couldn't pay me to play with sound on.
Well, you'll never be good at multitasking.
Yeah, hey, I accept that. I just use my eyes to see when CC troops are coming out. Like.
Yeah.
Is there a reason you're morally opposed to using your sound, or just an old man?
As rude as it's gonna sound, is I don't believe you that you hear all that stuff. Like, there's no way.
Yeah,
It's just
you actually do though. Like
You
I would
do,
play with
yeah.
sound down if I wasn't at work.
you guys.
but,
You guys are lying. You guys are making stuff up.
Those trumpets from the clan castle are so loud. I don't know how you could not
Yeah,
hear it.
like,
It's
I'm
a-
just gonna
a
go
siren.
shake all my drawers, and you tell me like what silverware is touching what. Like it's so much random noise. It's so much stupid, random, indistinguishable. I can't talk. It's noise.
But it's changed.
Yeah,
like,
this
you
is
haven't
trivial
played with
point.
sound on for a while, so you wouldn't know what it sounds like now. It's better now.
Because I promise you, like the sound of a CC coming out is so distinctive. You always hear that,
You can't miss it.
and
your
that
brain
can
gets trained
genuinely
on it.
help if you're a bit focused somewhere else on the map, and suddenly there's a bunch of headhunters running at your heroes. Like you genuinely helps. But okay, be an old man, keep shouting into the wind. No one cares.
All right. Okay, let's move it on. Like what troops do you think can get away with just a buff? I'll say versus what troops you think need a whole new level.
I think that. Wait, so what troops could get away with just a buff without getting a new
Yeah.
level? Is that what the question was?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
It's kind of a hard question to pick apart, but like, yeah, like the level could be a very small buff to the stats, or level could be significant too. So I don't know, trying to differentiate between like levels and just buffing them. It's hard to do.
Yeah, I think that the Super Hogs, if Supercell wants them to become viable, I think those need a new level and a buff. I don't think either will really make up for it. So they need to see a significant improvement in their health in order to make them work really well. They're affected by spring traps, so they already have a huge weakness that most other armies don't. They take splash damage much more than other armies because there's 15 or like 10 to 15 Super Hogs instead of like 6 or 7 throwers usually. So they're more susceptible to splash damage. So it's the Super Hog would need to see a significant buff and a new level if we wanted those to be viable. I do think that man, I know there's that one guy on YouTube that's making Zap Lalo work right now, but I feel the same way about balloons. If they wanted Lalo to be good again, those would need, I think, to see a significant buff too and a new level.
I know, like I've been refreshing Big Country's page like for days now, just like waiting to see. And I haven't looked today, so if you have something out there, but I was just like day one, I'm like, Throwers getting a buff. What's Big Country got to say? It was like 2 days of nothing, man. So,
Yeah, Big Country, he's in the chat right now.
Yeah,
Let's hear it.
yeah,
What's
yeah.
the excuse?
Yeah. So, all right, let's go. I lost it. Hey, Liam, what's the next one?
Should the Super Troop cap be increased or removed? This limit, for seemingly no reason, really limits the diversity. Some troops, such as Super Giants, can be great as a support, but are simply not worth using over other Super Troops.
Yeah, and that's one area where I think Supercell needs to lean on that statement that they made that said not every troop is going to be viable or not every army is going to be viable at Town Hall 18. There are some troops that are just kind of maybe meant to be armies that you start out with using in the game. I think it would be almost impossible to make every single troop become viable and maybe a nightmare. So that's hard to answer. They really need to just decide which ones they want to make good and then focus on that.
I think they could experiment with like maybe allowing 3 Super Troops at one time and then see if that completely breaks the game or if it's like if there's a good reason for only allowing 2 at a time.
Yeah, exactly. Like we have a game mode that's completely worthless except for getting resources. So why not just let us go crazy in casual
Yeah.
attacks? Like let us use 3, 4 super troops, call it an event, do whatever justification you need. But yeah, like like just like let us break stuff and see what works, and then you get the million monkeys typing at these typewriters. They'll eventually come up with something cool.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't really see, because there's not really any super troops that are like way more busted than normal regular troops are. So having a third super troop available at our disposal, I can't imagine would break the game. Although I mean, maybe I might eat my words if that happens.
Yeah.
I think it could only break the game if just a particular combination of troops was just nuts. Not necessarily because they're a super troop, if that makes sense. Like I said, I don't
Yeah.
think super troops are particularly. I know they're called super, but like you don't think that they're particularly more unbalanced than a normal troop, if you know what I mean. I just kind of consider them almost separate troops, not really better troops. So I don't think it would really be a significant issue in that way.
I agree. I agree with that.
If you had a goal for 2026 for your content, what would it be?
Well, definitely first and foremost is going to be, hopefully I can get a creator code soon. I've been trying. So that's definitely number one. But number two, and this is actually, I've never really announced this publicly till now, and I don't know how much content I'll really be able to make from this, but I've started a server with a whole bunch of helpful people that we're going to be starting to host a whole bunch of fun creative tournaments and stuff. So that I want to get more involved in that kind of stuff. So that's going to be goal number two, is to have this server that we've kind of built. We've actually got 16 Champion 1 clans involved in this right now, and it's going to start in just a couple of weeks, where it's going to be a lot like CWL, and we're not 100% sure on the format right now because we're working with these clans to make sure this works out really well. But there will be 16 Champion 1 clans. It will be 15v15 wars in legend mode. Players can pick and ban things, so each team will get one ban. We're hoping that it's kind of like a rec league for basketball or soccer or something, and where it's not filled with pros, so it's not going to be dominated, but it's going to be fun for clans to just get together and have wars like that once a week and just kind of have fun. So it's not necessarily meant to have the professional players, but I'm excited to build off of that. We're going to have maybe 1v1s and 2v2s and other creative things in that server hopefully soon. So that's another thing that I'm getting into.
Awesome.
Love that. Sounds awesome. Yeah. Does it have a name already, or?
Yeah, it's the semi-pro series, because it's yeah, we're not pros, right? We're semi-pros.
Have to have a bit of humility.
Yeah.
Thoughts on a system where you'd go head-to-head against the opponent similar to Build a Base? With the system, if I get a 90% 2-star, but my opponent gets an 80% 2-star, I will still feel rewarded since I won the battle. Attack shouldn't need to be done at the same time, unlike Build a Base.
That's a good question. I've never really thought about that. That would be, I think that would be a ton of fun to be able to do that. The technical making that work side of it would maybe be difficult, but I think that would be fun. Absolutely.
Yeah, my only concern would be that it'd be too similar to Build a Base, and they're trying to keep it like two different game modes. But yeah, no, it's definitely a nice idea. And then last question then. Oh, sorry, go on, Sam.
I was saying, is there any evidence Supercell still cares at all about Build a Base?
It's a good point.
Yeah, not a lot. They should just merge them, and then we can do it that way.
Yeah, exactly. That'll be the next thing. Merge defenses become merge bases.
Merged villages. Yeah, that's
yeah, exactly. When Capital gets involved, oh my god, it'll be chaos.
All right, I think we have one more time for one last question. I said we have time for one last. Sorry. What do you think about creators asking for global back for recruitment?
Creators asking for what?
For global chat back for like recruitment purposes.
Oh yeah, I would be so. To be honest with you, I don't really 100% know the reason they did away with global chat, but before forums and Discord and stuff were huge, that was the only way you could really recruit, and it was fun to interact on global chat, because I feel like, because Discord is a thing and other forums and stuff, I feel like clan chats have really died for most clans. Like even very active clans that raid a lot, they don't chat in their chat very often. It's mostly just friendly challenges and stuff. So having another place where you could chat with other people in the game would be, I think, I don't see a downside to it. Maybe maybe people kept getting scammed out of their accounts or something, and so that's why they wanted to get rid of it, or I don't really know what, but
I mean, the reason that they did get rid of it, I'm fairly sure, was just because it was a nightmare to police. I mean, you had, I think, terrorist threats, lots of
Humans
awful
being humans, yeah.
exploitative
okay.
messages on there and abusive messages. And I think at the end of the day, Supercell just saw it as a nightmare to police. And fair enough. So I can't believe Global Chat will ever come back just because it was, I think, so awful for them to police.
I think
That doesn't mean there shouldn't be some alternative method of recruiting. 'Cause I think everyone still agrees that it's pretty rubbish, the recruiting system we have in game. But I don't think Global Chat will ever be Supercell's answer to that.
Okay, that's
I
a fair.
think
Yeah, good.
yeah, it might come back in the form like Among Us did, where you have like certain responses you can send and nothing else, so you can't type whatever you want. But yeah, who knows? Global Chat was a mystery.
Yeah, that
Rick?
I can't imagine wanting to deal with that headache either. So I don't blame them.
I think that's it for the questions then.
Wonderful.
All right,
Is
yeah.
Rick-
Yeah, thank you so much, Shock, for joining us. All you guys, I'm gonna have links to Shock's YouTube channel, his Discord, and if there's any other social media you want to shout out, just let me know. I'll put links to all that down in the episode description too. You can find him on YouTube at Shock _ 2 underscores, right? That looks
Yes,
big.
2 underscores. Yep.
Shock _ games.
Yeah,
So-
1 underscore was taken, so I had to take the next best thing.
So yeah, I was reading that and I was like, wait, that looks big.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, we wish you all the best in your journey. Hopefully you get that creator code super creator upgrade sometime soon. It's been a long time coming. Definitely will be well deserved once you get there. I'm positive that's going to happen.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for having me on. I seriously, I love talking about the game and what I think and stuff and sharing my ideas. So
Yeah.
this is a blast. Thank you for having me.
Brilliant
Oh,
to
yeah.
have you on.
Yeah. And then finally, also do got to mention Double Trouble event
Yes.
starting Valentine's Day. You are going to be streaming the at least the finals, right?
Yeah. Hopefully more than that too, depending on when I can coordinate with other people. But we've got some professional players that have even signed up for that too. So we'll have some really
nice.
good matches. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah, the CFF always puts on good events, so it's gonna be fun. I'll have links to that. I believe it's full, but yeah, definitely check out our friends over at the CFF and what they're up to. And that is gonna do it. Thanks again, and everyone, thanks for listening too. We will catch you in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Thank you
See you,
again.
everyone. Thanks, Shock.
It's a pleasure.
See you
Thank
guys.
everyone for listening.
Yeah.
Goodbye.